Good Tuesday morning. We're going to continue in Proverbs today. Yesterday and today are Proverbs. Okay. There's again. These are just good sayings. They're provocative. They're not only have the wisdom of God within them, but they're street smart. These guys, I got to think these guys were all figuring it out as they were living it. They were trying to figure out what's this whole thing about, but also they had learned an awful lot about life. They're teaching us. See, what does he say? All the ways of a man may be right in his own eyes, but it is the Lord who proves hearts. See, the truth may be different than what the man thinks of himself. To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. Haughty eyes and a proud heart, the tillage of the wicked is sin. Boy, is that ever right. Whoever makes a fortune by a lying tongue is chasing a bubble over deadly snares. Boy, I love that line. Holy cow. Whoever makes a fortune by lying tongue, whoever acquires power by a lying tongue, forget about wealth, okay, is chasing a bubble over deadly snares. Boy, that's a powerful line. Because you're lying, you see? You're ambitious for yourself, and you're lying to get there, where you're chasing a bubble. The worst part of chasing the bubble is you're over deadly snares. So that's the kicker. It's all right. You see little children chasing bubbles. It's fun. You see little kids to get the bubble things, and they're chasing them. That's okay. That's fun. You never can catch them, obviously. It's foolish, see? But it isn't. It's childlike. Here, it's not childlike. It's foolish because you're not running on a nice solid ground. You're running on snares. It's going to catch you. It's going to pull you down. It's going to destroy you. Boy, does he have that ever right. Yeah, these guys were smart. I think about this a lot because I think about the arrogance of power. Let's use that example there. Whoever makes a fortune, whoever seeks power by a lying tongue or by an arrogant spirit. I've seen that in my professional life. I've seen people who had an arrogant heart and who really turned friends into enemies. I mean, I've seen that. I've seen that. I've been in the racket 50 years, roughly speaking, and I've seen the pursuit of power. I've seen how it has destroyed the pursuer because they've turned friends into enemies. Or if it's not enemies, they lost the support. Sometimes the most devastating snare of all snares is silence. It's silence. When a person needs support in his pursuit or her pursuit of power, those persons need also at the same time to support, a silent support, the support of people, okay? Not their silent, but their active support. I didn't say that well. So often, it isn't that somebody says something against them. They don't say something for them. And anyone in authority who knows who's recruiting knows to hear the unheard as well, the unspoken as well as the spoken. It's very interesting. I've been in some level. I think of myself as a sergeant because I was chair of my department for so many years, 28. And you learn in local politics. You learn how to hear and see. And you learn what happens. You see what happens when people who have asserted their power at the expense of others. In every single instance, I've seen them go down. Not because somebody knocked them down, but because they overstepped their bounds. That, by the way, is a kind of an ancient Greek idea of tragedy. Somebody who goes beyond their bounds and they fall. This is a lot of wisdom in this stuff. Whoever it is that has put these proverbs, there's a lot of wisdom in this. It's street wisdom. It's street wisdom. Yeah. It's what life will teach you if you're open enough and humble enough to let life teach you. And in the end, the gospel will confirm it. Be a neighbor. Be a good neighbor. Love your neighbor. Take care of your friends. Take care of those that Providence has put in your life. Don't try to bully anybody. Don't throw your weight around. Don't think you're smarter than the other guy. Maybe you are. I remember, oh, I don't want to tell that story. Ah, but I've seen arrogance, and I watched self-inflicted defeat by the arrogant. I have truly seen that in my professional life. Okay, where the arrogant end up being nothing. They overstep their bound. Nobody knocked them down. They stepped beyond it and fell by their own stupidity. You see, self-conceit and arrogance are a form of stupidity because you don't know your limitations. You don't know your limits. You don't recognize, or you refuse to recognize, your limits in life. You don't have the humility to know the truth about yourself. You're believing in your own your own story, the one you make up, the lie you're telling about yourself, to yourself first and then to the world around you. Except nobody believes you out there. The only fool in the room is you, because you're believing it. God, I've seen that. I swear, God, I've seen it. Where you see other people who are humble in their service of each other, they flourish. You see, the real nature of power, if you want to think in those terms, is to be trusted, because you have not taken advantage of your friends and your neighbors. They trust you that you will never betray them, that you will never hurt them or take from them. That's real power. You're trusted. The guy who throws his weight around, he ain't trusted, except trusted to know that he will throw his weight around, or she will throw her weight around. Throw it around. See how long you last. You won't. You won't. Because you become foolish in your arrogance. In your haughtiness, you become the fool. I think of Adolf Hitler that way. Maximum power he had in Germany, and he dies in a bunker with a bullet in his head. He is the final, ultimate, arrogant fool. Tragically, he killed 60 million people in the process of the Second World War. Yeah. Yeah. The arrogance of haughty power, it's self-defeating, and sometimes in the most humiliating ways. Now, I think of an example of Hitler, but I think of so many small-time operators who think they're tougher than the other guy, and they end up overstepping their bound, and boom. And it's just, I like this stuff here. I like this stuff because I think, you want to know the truth. I know. It's street knowledge. You know, when we knew growing up in the city, we knew to keep our mouth shut, keep our eyes open and our mouth shut. And don't stick your nose in anybody else's business. Whatever we knew, don't throw your weight around. You haven't got any to throw. Be a good neighbor. Look out for each other. Take care of each other. Learn to love each other, even in all our flaws. And we were a flawed, oh my God, we were a flawed community. We had more alcoholics than you could throw a stick at. I mean, there was so many really suffering families. But you know what? We stuck together. We were neighbors to each other. Flawed as we were neighbors to each other. Yeah, I believe that. Dr. Ragland, Scott Ragland's the chair of the department, and Scott asked me one time, where did you learn your politics? Where did you acquire your political skills? Because I am good at it. And I said, from the kids of the old neighborhood. He went to Yale. I said, from Ward Street off Congress Avenue. I said, you learn in a town like that, you learn on a street like that, keep your eyes open and your mouth shut. Treat your friends well. Don't create problems. I said, some of the stuff I see going on in the academic world, I said, you wouldn't last 15 minutes where I grew up. Somebody beat the hell out of you. You know, sticking your nose you don't believe, throwing your weight around when you don't have any. See? You didn't see that on the street. You took care of each other. You didn't judge each other, either as flawed as we were, as many of them were. You took care of each other. That's a neighborhood. I think these guys in Proverbs, they came out of somebody's neighborhood. They were all part of a neighborhood, in my sense of neighborhood.